Hey, so if you're watching this channel, you probably want to know what sales skills for non-sales actually means. One of the big factors of having sales skills, and one of the things it can do for you, is it can actually progress you into any career. It can propel you into any field you want. And I think that if you look at a lot of CEOs and you look at a lot of top people within organizations, they have one thing in common, and that's having sales experience. So that's really what my content is about. I like to talk about how you being in a technical field might actually have more of an advantage than someone who traditionally is in sales, quote unquote, in sales. But you might actually have the ability to add some sales skills like persuasion and communication, persistence. Add that to your skill set, and then you're going to dominate. You're going to be better than any salesperson because you got the technical skills to back you up. Part of it is being a better communicator. If you want to be a top salesman and you want to be great in sales, which is for me a great fulfilling career, and what a blessing to have gone in that direction. If you want to be better at it, it's going to open up a lot of different avenues for you, a lot of different doors. And communication is really a core of that. This video in particular, I wanted to break down something. You're in my basement bar / record and music area, and I wanted to break down something that actually has more to do with rap music and communication. So really, I wanted to put this on paper and use my whiteboard and come to the basement. And why? Because it's always been on my mind. It's always been really, really interesting. If you think about the influence that perhaps rap music has had on me in my life growing up, how would that influence my ability to sell professionally? How would all these things from rap music, where can I draw the parallel from old school rap, and especially 80s and 90s rap? Where can I draw the parallel to actual career skills and sales skills? And that's what I've been thinking about a lot. I've been thinking about this for 10 years as far as what it can actually do and what the actual parallels are. Sorry, my camera's getting a little fuzzy there. So anyways, we're in my basement. I would give you a tour. Maybe I'll attach it to the end of this video where you can see some of the actual records and music catalog that I have. Obviously I say records, but I'm talking about CDs mostly, although I consume most of my music digitally. But really, I wanted to talk about this topic. So I broke it down on a whiteboard, and we're gonna fill out some of the blanks. But mainly, you got your rap music. Hope you like my graphics and my imagery. But that's a mic. You got some bling bling in the guy's hand. That's what rap is about. Rap is about holding the mic, about controlling your crowd, and about delivering a message. Think about how consistent, or how that parallel actually works already without even me saying any more. You got an MC, master of ceremonies. You have someone who controls a mic. You have somebody who is narrating on behalf of a story or telling a story, and you can start to see where I'm going with this. These are skills that would sort of be required in the job and in your daily life. Let's say you're working as an account executive or a salesperson, or you potentially want to be a salesperson or a great presenter who's super technical, but you want to present even when it comes to larger format corporate presentations. I've done plenty of presentations that are quarterly business reviews for my business, so working on the business as opposed to inside the business and presenting some of this stuff upstream. And even though I'm not presenting things like this, like rap music, there's a rhythm and a rhyme to the way that I present. And I broke it down into a few different categories. Number one is articulation. And when you think about articulation, that is really, your ability to, I'd say a few things. Number one is your ability to control your voice. And when you think of someone who is a good articulator, what does that mean? That means the person is really capable of delivering a message in a very thoughtful way, in a way that makes you want to hang on to their words and what they're saying. When you say someone is articulate, you think that they're very good at describing something and using all the right words. Speaking of words, it doesn't mean you're using all the big words. It means that you're using all the correct words. I see a lot of people fail, especially in sales, where because you think you're in sales, you have the title, you think it's this sort of, blank check to go and use big words and fancy words. That doesn't really matter. Like, your ability to connect with someone and have them understand something is more important than anything else. I can do an entire video on how to take things that are really technical and actually make it so that anybody in the room can understand what you're doing. And on the extreme of examples, if you think of somebody like Steve Jobs, and in his role, like, Steve Jobs gets a lot of praise for simplifying things, simplifying concepts, and really that's what we should be doing in sales, and that's part of how you articulate, right? But the main thing is that you're using your voice to do that. How do you control your voice? Now, there's different types of voices, and there's way more experts on this online than me, but are you monotone? Can you switch tones? Now, if you're monotone, that's probably not a good thing. And if you're monotone, which I consider myself to be somewhat, it's sort of hard to get out of that and be able to switch things up. Now, a monotone voice, what I hear, and it makes sense, monotone voice comes from a monotone body. So the best thing to do is, get physical. Motion creates emotion. It'll create emotion in your own body as well. If you're getting up and you're changing your voice and changing your tonality around things. And when you change your tonality, things can get pretty interesting. And I'd say that's another part of articulation that is really important. Your tonality is part of how you articulate things. So when you have a solid tone and you have a good tone, people will hang on to your words and they'll pay attention. The next thing is, if you can read my writing, is vocal energy. And really what I mean by that is, are you energized within your voice? Like, you guys can probably hear within my voice, I've got some, some pretty solid energy. It's because I'm passionate about what I'm saying. You could have some nerves too, because I'm recording myself, and this is like the start of my content and the start of my channel, so I'm not as used to recording myself on video as maybe some other people, so that's probably why you hear the energy. But within your own vocal energy, that's your ability to show up and your ability to present yourself. And I'm sure you can name a lot of rappers that have a really solid vocal energy. I mean, you wouldn't be a rapper if you didn't have a solid vocal energy. So that's a solid consistency between rap music and being a rapper and being the MC of your presentation or the MC of your pitch deck. You could be raising money for your startup. You could be, just pitching for a large company, and you can be leading a sales team into a pitch. But the fact is, these things really matter. Now, the last thing under articulation is your speed. And really that has to do with how you control it. So right now even, if I take a second and I slow down, what a difference it makes. So sometimes you want to go fast and sometimes you actually want to go slow. But delivering your intentional pauses can actually mean that you're grabbing more attention from someone who's on the other end, who's really listening. They might actually listen better when you take a moment to not blast through things at a high rate, but actually slow down and make strategic pauses. When you think about yourself as a presenter, how many times do you actually do this? And there's impact to that. There's power to that. There's impact to that. Now, I would actually even note that down, the fact that if you have intentional pauses, like, that is something that you want to be really, really good at and really, really control. A lot of people, when they get into sales and they get into wanting to be better at presenting, they start to think that they need to speed up. And You frankly do not need to speed up. You want people to understand you, and you want people to listen. And a lot of times having somebody's attention and elevating somebody's attention on the other end, you could actually do it by strategically using your pauses, right? So that's articulation. That's a big deal. Like, there are some, and when you think about rap, because obviously we want to tie it to rap music, I can go to the catalog and I can pick some rappers who are very, very articulate. They've got a great voice, great tonality, solid vocal energy. They control their speeds. They use intentional pauses. But also, it's just purely the words, lastly, before I forget. And really, we come up with stuff on the spot sometimes. But words would be super important. Would love to know what you think. You can put comments below. And the reason why I actually thought about words, funny enough, is when I'm thinking about rappers who articulate well, I'm thinking about, if you're old enough, Big Daddy Kane. I'm thinking about Nas. If you think about Nas's Illmatic, this is his first album. You know, the kid was 17 years old or 18 years old or something like that. And the words that he was using really make somebody pay attention. Now, there's other things involved in the background of the words. You have some of the best producers working on your music. You are in the right time at the right place, being able to connect with basically super producers of the era in 1994. And I know my rap music, so you can challenge me on some of those dates. But the words matter big time. And the words on top of your overall environment could make a huge difference. How does that apply to sales? Obviously, if you're mastering all those things and you're doing a pitch deck, you can absolutely crush it. Like, you can really, really crush it. Now that we talked about articulation, I want to talk about, I'll go down here and talk about something else, which is storytelling, which is sort of a category of its own. Now, when you're delivering a presentation, or let's say you're selling and you're doing a sell deck, what really matters to the person who's on the other end? Well, the person who's going to be buying your product, let's just call it your customer, whether you're selling B2B or door-to-door even, a lot of times you can really connect with that person and connect with that audience if you are telling a story. So if your story has a few elements to it, people will catch on that you're really telling a story. Why do you tell a story? Because people connect with stories. People want to know your why, your organization's why. If you work for a large organization who even has an amazing presence, you can work for a company that everybody knows and everybody recognizes. And still, that's part of the story inherently that you should be sharing, that there would be a big benefit to you sharing to really get people's attention. And my suggestion is doing this within every discovery, pitch, sales, presentation, anytime you need to introduce yourself or connect your organization to a potential buyer. So I think more from the business to business perspective, but this could be B2C. You could be door knocking and selling vacuums door to door. I don't know if people still do that, but I'm old, so people used to do that. They'd sell a vacuum door to door, but you still need to tell a story. Now, what does a story have? Like, stories have what? A start, a middle, and an end. And I might have to bring you back a little bit closer again. Now, when you have a start, middle, and end, these are just basic elements of a story. And how it applies to, let's say, business, is that when you have a start of a story, you have an intro, and when you have a middle, you obviously have the meat and potatoes of your story, not necessarily your pitch, but your story and the value proposition, I guess, for the organization or whatever you're selling. And then you have an ending. And the ending doesn't have to be a hard ending. It could be, how did we get to this point? Or how did we get to where we are today? If you think about what the story would be, right? So I mentioned another word which I think is super, super important, and that's value prop. Value, oh man, you guys will not be able to, no one's going to be able to read this. So if you think of value proposition, I'll just put prop, because who got the props? We're talking about rap music anyway. So when you're thinking about your value prop, that's a big part of your story. So, value prop and making sure that you understand what the value is of whatever it is that you're selling matters a lot. And in fact, value prop is not just part of storytelling, it's part of everything, because value prop is something that after you initiate your value prop or you deliver your value prop the first time, you're not done. Like, you got to reinforce your value proposition all throughout your meeting and all throughout your presentation, right? And what's also important when it comes to storytelling is setting the stage. One of my pet peeves as a sales director or senior director of sales, or even frankly just a lifelong salesperson, is that, whether you're on the floor of Best Buy or whether you're selling something corporately, enterprise deal, when people don't set the stage properly, like, they're missing out on a big opportunity, because you need to really understand and really reinforce the why. And why are you here? Why are we here? Why is your customer here in the room with you? There are so many other places you could be, like Jay-Z says, but you're here with me. And we appreciate that. And while we appreciate that, you gotta really reinforce the why. And why we're here and why we're doing everything that we're doing. So to me, that's part of your story, but really, your why, like, anytime I work with people or coach people on my team, I'm always helping them understand that this matters more than anything. This is the basis. Now, it might not be in every rap song, every great rap song or every great rap record, but when you think about it, this matters more than anything else. Why are we here? And the story will help you do that. Now, when you think of great storytellers and when you think of rappers that are great storytellers, a lot of different names come to mind. There's a Notorious B.I.G. vinyl right behind me. Big. Nas is a really great storyteller. Slick Rick, if you're really old like me, even older than me, the generation before me, you probably have to be a Gen Xer to really understand Slick Rick, because he came out in like 1986 with Dougie Fresh, but 88. If you listen to Children's Story, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, these are really, really amazing storytellers. If you can be a great storyteller, there should be a lot of videos on this. If you can be a great storyteller, you can pretty much sell anything. Your discovery, your pitch, your sales presentation, your board meeting, your presentation to your chief revenue officer internally is going to go great, right? Now, another area, so I don't keep blabbering on about storytelling, which is super important, is bravado. Now, I can look up the definition of bravado, and maybe I should, just for the sake of it. But when you think of bravado, like, what is the definition of bravado? So I just defined it right now on dictionary, and I got my phone right here. And the definition of bravado, probably super hard to see, but I'll read it to you. A bold manner or a show of boldness intended to impress or intimidate. Now write that down. Impress or intimidate. Now, both super powerful words. Do you want to impress people in your presentation? Do you want to impress people when you're selling to them? Do you want to intimidate people? You probably don't want to intimidate. You probably don't want to intimidate people, especially when you're doing that internal presentation that I was talking about. You probably do not want to intimidate your boss. You don't want to intimidate your boss's boss. You don't want to finally get them on a quarterly meeting and go and say something that the Notorious B.I.G. would say to his boss, which would be like, "Fuck you, man!" Like, I can't remember which rapper or which song it was, like, where he's dissing his boss and he's telling him to F off and stuff like that. That's not what you want to do. Okay, so the better of the two words is to impress. So again, bravado, noun. A bold manner or a show of boldness intended to impress or intimidate. And we focus on the value of impressing. So bravado means, you're impressing people. And when you think about rappers, rappers are very confident. Confidence matters so much in sales and in business. And so we gotta write that down. Like, your confidence matters so much. Now, if you walk into a presentation or you walk into a room and you're all like, let me adjust this camera and just get it up. If you're all like, hey, how you doing? Hi guys, I'm here to present our offering. Thanks for being here. And you notice that even though I used some intentional pauses, that was weak. Versus if you walk in and you actually have some authority about yourself, you have some confidence about yourself, you're going to be able to actually transfer that energy. Somebody told me that sales is just a transfer of enthusiasm, and it actually is. So bravado in the business context would not just be impress or intimidate, but you can double click on it, which we did, and it could be confidence. In addition to that, it can be enthusiasm. So name some of the greatest rappers ever. Name some of the most popular rappers. Name your Drakes, your Kendricks, or your Will Smiths, or anybody. Like, these are examples all across the board of people who are confident, enthusiastic, and they're impressing you. And a lot of people are not trying to impress anybody, and they're not trying to do it enough. And it's not about an ego thing or like I'm better than you or I need to impress you. There's a difference between the need to impress somebody and the desire to impress upon somebody that they are a confident individual. I'll say that again. There is a difference. I'll say it a different way. There is a difference between trying to impress somebody versus trying to impress upon somebody that you are a confident individual. And the only way that you can do that is by, frankly, having the confidence, having the enthusiasm. When I think of people who are enthusiastic and who are confident in the rap realm, I just mentioned some of them, and I've transferred some of that energy into myself, especially as a young high school kid. I remember some of the presentations that I did for organizational behavior. Like, these are classes where we mock created an organization within our high school. I ended up becoming the vice president of sales, and my big mandate was to make sure that we were solid on our cookie sales. So I used to walk around with a box of cookies and a jar full of coins so that people can pay me 50 cents for a cookie. And I'd collect the money at the end of the day. And I had also went to some of the local pizzerias to taste some pizza because I said, I am the VP of sales for my high school, and we want to try your pizza to make sure that you can get a volume pizza contract. All this started for me at a very young age, right? And that's where the rap music and the influence really, really helped me in having that confidence. And frankly, rap music made me feel like I was really cool. And because I thought I was cool, I was able to break through and actually be myself. And I'm happy to say that I've carried that with me through a corporate environment where I feel like I'm able to be myself. I am me, and I'm not afraid to show anybody in the organization my rap collection and tell them really thoughtfully like this how it's actually impacted me, right? Now, instead of rambling on, part of bravado, when you think about those examples of those MCs and rappers, that is exactly what it is. It's showmanship and it's MCing. So when you think about MCing, this could be the most important connection. MC stands for Master of Ceremonies. And when you're a Master of Ceremonies, aka MC, MCs not only rap, they host weddings, They are giving the speech for the best man. They host organizational offsites. They host sales kickoffs. If you're a great MC, you probably have a great bravado. And you can apply that to any part of sales, selling, interviewing, which is a whole nother topic on its own, which I love to write about and tell you my thoughts on interviewing and actually outline a framework or a process, kind of like this. But that's how important bravado is, and that's what's under it. Showmanship, like I said, emceeing now connected to bravado is the most important part of bravado. If you've got the confidence, you've got the charisma, you can be a great MC. And really, bravado, again, a bold manner or a show of boldness intended to impress or intimidate, but scratch out the intimidate part. Now, are there advantages to being intimidating within the workplace? Maybe. You don't want to be, but maybe strategically could be used to your advantage in some ways. Maybe not. We would scratch that completely and just say it's more important to impress people and more important to make people feel good. And lastly, that's what I put under bravado. And I need a bigger whiteboard. Feeling. And with bravado, it's about the feeling that you're giving somebody. What is the feeling that you're giving somebody? Most leaders are great MCs. They can impress people. They can impress upon people. They give people a great feeling. They are confident. They are enthusiastic. That to me is bravado. That to me is how rap music and listening to rap music and old rap music, not new mumble rap stuff that I don't understand, not just because I'm older, but because I just don't get it. Like the articulation, the voice, the charisma is actually gone unless you look at a certain cohort of older rappers and musicians. And this can actually apply to all types of music. Like you can be the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you can be Anthony Kiedis, and you've got a lot of these characteristics. So really, it's not just rap music, but a lot of this is, for me, the study is more based on rap music than anything else, to ensure that. And I'm thinking back to when my parents used to not really like it when I was listening to the music a little bit too loud on my little Panasonic boombox in my room, in my bedroom. And they would be like, turn that off. Like, what are you listening to that music for? This is terrible music. And I agree, a young kid probably shouldn't be listening to explicit music. But at the same time, it benefited me. Like, I learned so much, and I can actually connect the dots now. Now, there's one more topic, and that's one thing that I would say is it could be really, really cool to think about. And that's like bravado, and when you think of intimidate, so we'll actually go back. I'll circle it, but let me use a blue marker so it can stand out a little bit. I don't know how you would read the chicken scratch anyways, but that's a pretty cool mic that I drew, right? But intimidate. So some people you want to impress, some people you want to intimidate. It doesn't, and I keep avoiding it because it doesn't really apply as much to this in the context of a corporate environment and in terms of sales. But really, as far as intimidating, like, that's beef right there. So understanding beef. What's really, really interesting to me is sort of the mechanics behind a good, solid beef, where we can think of some of the rap beefs of all time, like Jay-Z versus Nas, and more recently, like Kendrick versus Drake. Even if it goes too far, like too personal, and it should be kept about music and just about sort of the art of battling, like Boogie Down Productions versus MC Shan and Marlon and the Juice Crew and like that kind of stuff. That's where it wasn't about anything other than the music. But when you think about beef, like there's mechanics to beef. There is real mechanics that put people or put one rapper or one artist over another with that last record that he just made. And then there's another one coming from the competitor, and that's going to top you, right? And then there's the other one, and this guy's going up again too, and now these guys are just battling it out and everybody's getting better. Like, there is potentially something to be said here in as far as our topic and our conversation that would have something to do with this, which maybe, if I think about it now, maybe from a competitive landscape. Yeah, so I hit the time limit there on the clip, but like, so part of that got cut off, but really to close it out, when you think about beef and adding beef to the whole mix, understanding beef and what that can mean in business, like beef from a business perspective could be very similar to what you're seeing with Drake versus Kendrick or anybody else. It's one brand versus another, or one salesperson versus another. And I put that all under bravado, obviously for a reason, because usually it's an ego game, it's a bravado game, it's an impression game, like who wants to impress the other person or who wants to impress the audience a lot better. So while I said earlier, like intimidate, really like you want to scratch that, because I want to look for the positive characteristics within rap music and bravado, and I'd make impressing somebody more important and more important part of the definition. But even intimidate could be so important when you think about like a rap beef. So all of this to say that, you know, rap music and really understanding rap music and the parallel between rap could really help you. Like, it could really help you understand what the game is all about. And there are some serious parallels in business and in life when it comes to this, when it comes to rap music. So there's the snapshot of the whole thing if you can read the chicken scratch. But I think I'm going to actually move over to showing you what the collection looks like if you just want to stay put. So that's that. Take a screenshot of it. Hope you're enjoying my content, and hope you enjoy the way I think about this stuff, because it's actually years in the making of thinking about this kind of stuff. But now, I would like to share with you some of my collection. And while we're here and we're talking about this topic, there's some pretty cool stuff here. So if you look, and I just take a step back a little bit, there's a lot of music here. Now, I've been collecting albums for a really, really, really long time. And it's not just rap music. If you take a look at it, like, you know, I got Benny Goodman. Like, who knows who Benny Goodman is? Like, I've got jazz music. I've got, you know, a lot of different type of stuff. Like Michael Bolton. Like, you know, like still in the packaging. Wow. I didn't know that, but I still got it in the packaging. Some of this stuff I actually bought secondhand, or a lot of it I actually bought secondhand. And a lot of it I would have bought firsthand. When you check out my Klipsch reference speakers, bit of an audiophile. I like some of my music. Like, Klipsch wouldn't be considered some serious audiophile stuff unless I was talking to somebody who was pretty, maybe more basic like me. So maybe I'm not an audiophile. I don't know. But I like good sounding music, and I love to listen to albums and like really, really feel all the notes and the definition. And the dynamics of audio is really important to me. This is a bit of a bar area. If you check this out, got Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die on vinyl. Check this out. Got some Phil Collins in the turntable. That's an Audio Technica. So music is a real passion of mine. I love music. When you take a look at this, like, you see that there are some cassettes over here. Like, these are old. Super old. I was actually looking for a cassette player. Need a really nice cassette deck. There's Dionne Warwick on, got doubles. Wow. And you know, Rick Astley, High Five. So everything from country music to, and you know, I can't really say that I've listened to all this music, because when I think about country music, obviously I don't really listen to a lot of country music, and like, you won't see me listening to Vince Gill while I'm driving to the office. But this is usually where I spend more of my time. This is sort of an R&B collection right here. This is the top shelf original OG R&B. And then this would be my top shelf sort of rap music. Let me flip that camera. And you can pick a lot of stuff out of here. Some of my favorite albums. Got LL Cool J, Mr. Smith. You got some Big Daddy Kane. You got multiple Roots albums. Public Enemy. Wow, Chuck D. Talk about bravado. Talk about bravado. And talk about entertainment. Like, when you think of this too, like, okay, look, you got Public Enemy. Anybody recognize that guy in the back? I'm sure you would recognize who that is. That's Flavor Flav. And what was Flavor Flav, like, what was his role on a team? He was the hype man. So imagine in your own business, you got hype men. If you're bringing your hype man, could be your sales engineer. Sorry, you could be the hype man, and you could be the facilitator, bringing everybody together. You could be doing the introduction for Chuck D, but all this goes hand in hand with bravado and some of the other concepts. One of my favorite albums ever, Pete Rock and CL Smooth. And then, of course, there's some newer stuff, some Kanye West and a whole bunch of other stuff, some Eric B. and Rakim. Don't judge me, this is the 20th Century Masters collection, but there's some original Eric B. and Rakim there, you know, some Nas. If I'm thinking about what would have influenced sort of my high school days, this would have been a big influence when Nas sort of came back on my high school days, and learning Nas and learning all the songs really made me, you know, feel like I was becoming a better communicator. Actually, believe it or not, I felt this way from the beginning. Knowing the words to some of these songs and knowing how to put the words together really helped me articulate things. And there's many examples in many cases, by the way, where I'm saying something in a meeting and I almost feel like those weren't my words. Like, those are words I got from the Nas album, or those are words from, you know, Eric B. and Rakim. Like, so weird that actually happens, but when it sort of becomes you a little bit, you know, you can actually bring that into any environment and it just comes out, which is pretty cool. So anyways, that's my collection, and thank you for watching this video. Until next time, BIG.